Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Business Spotlight interview series. And I'm your host, Handeep Kaur. And today we have Gareth Love, MD of Root Finance, yeah, and Managing Director of Mortgage Advice Brokers. I would say, and there are many more, but I would say if it comes to mortgage broker or brokerage, Gareth is the person to speak to. So, Gareth, welcome to the show. If you would introduce yourself in terms of who you are about the business to all our listeners.
Sure. So yeah, my name's Gareth Love. Thanks for having me on. I've got a couple of different businesses. So the Mortgage Experts being one of the ones I've had for the longest. We've got a mortgage brokerage based in the Midlands, so East and West Midlands. We have about 50 mortgage brokers across our brands. And I've also the owner of a company called Vestura Group, which has got a number of businesses within it. So we've got like a software company, something else as well. We've got insurance brokerage, IR35 tax assessment company. So lots of different things.
Lots of
mortgage is
different.
playing everything.
Exactly. So mortgage. So Gareth, is it fair to say mortgage is the common thing among all? Yeah, and
Yeah.
you are a true example of diversification. I would say multiple things. Yeah. So
Jack of all trades, master of them.
I don't think so that is there, but yeah, you are definitely master of all. So apologies, I have a bit of bad throat today, but Gareth, now listening to your background, what if you reflect back on your journey, what inspired you to get started?
So bizarrely, I've always worked in mortgages since I was 18 years old. I used to
Wow.
work for my parents' family business, which was an estate agency based in Leicester. And they had an estate agent, quite a big estate agent at the time. It had about 10, 11 branches across Leicestershire. And I remember starting work there as like a 16-year-old, just making the tea and putting letters in envelopes and things like that, and just sort of progressed from there. And when I got to 18, they had quite a big mortgage brokerage, and I went to a team meeting, and there was all these fancy cars were turning up, and that was the mortgage guys back in the heyday. This would be 2006, 2007. So I
Hmm.
thought that's what I want to do. So yeah, it just led from there really. I just I thought I wanted. I left school with sort of not very many qualifications, to say the least, and just sort of fell into it really. But and I've stayed in it ever since. So this will be coming up now for what, 70, 18 years, something like that I've worked in it for now.
Wonderful, wonderful. So Gareth, I mean, when I speak to business owners, there are many people, who, they would start the business in a similar manner. But the only difference there with you is that you've been very successful and you've seen that growth. So, what do you attribute your growth to?
So I think there's a couple of things that go into it. So the first thing is having with the business. So in total across all the businesses, there's probably about 70, 80 odd people, probably even more than that now. And I think the growth really accelerated in the last sort of 5 or 6 years because of the culture that we have within the business. So, I'm very aware that the world's changing, and there's things like AI that are coming along that are going to sort of change it even more and probably even quicker than anybody anticipated. But if you want to have a business where you've got people within it that give everything they can or everything they want to give to that business, you've got to create an environment that people want to be part of. And we liken it to a bit like a clique. So, cliques are often thought as a bad thing. So if it's a school clique or a sports club clique or something like that, people don't like it. But in our business, we wanted to create an environment where if you're in it, you don't want to leave it. You love being part of it. And if you're not in it, you want to come and be part of it. And, I had a lovely example today in one of our WhatsApp groups where two of the advisors have been working together and giving advice to each other. And one of the advisors bought the other advisor a present to say thank you. And that's the stuff that we love. So, don't get me wrong, being in those WhatsApp groups with that many people can drive you mad at sometimes because of all the messages that come through. But when you've got a sort of, you can't decide what your culture is. You have to live and breathe it. You have to act in that way. But we've got this lovely, wonderful sort of working relationship where we're here just to support and help each other, and it's like growing together so we can help each other to achieve what we want to achieve.
Wonderful. You have touched a very important point, culture. having that right culture, creating that, I would say. So, Gareth, what you did, as a business owner to create that culture, the positive and productive culture, which brings growth.
So that used to be a real difficult question. I think some people might find that a difficult question, but for us, it's really simple. So if you want to create a nice culture, you've got to have a set of core values that you
Yeah.
live by. So that you're absolutely 100% honest with. So our core values, we've got 5. So being the best version of yourself, and that can mean different things to different people. We can't assume that the best version of everybody is earning the most money, because that's not true. We've got some advisors
Exactly.
that are, single parents that need to be able to go to school and drop the kids off and take them to sports clubs and things like that. So being the best version of the self, and that we liken that, if people are, to give a football analogy, I'm not a big football fan myself, but if you were to look at the football from last year, the Premier League in the UK, where you got, let's say, Liverpool's target or Arsenal's target would have been to win the Premier League. That's their
Yeah.
target. We want to win it.
Yeah.
Whereas a club like Everton, I can say this as a Leicester City fan, but a club like Everton, their target was to survive and just to stay in the
Yeah.
Premier League.
Yeah.
And if you actually looked at the end of the season, the last game, Leicester City got relegated and Everton managed to stay in the Premier League. So they have actually achieved what they wanted to achieve, whereas Arsenal and Liverpool didn't. They didn't win it. Now, you could argue that they finished better than Everton, but that's not what we're about. It's not about who's the best. It's about achieving what you want to achieve. So that's the first thing. Learning is a massive thing. So we always want people to learn, because I strongly believe that nobody can know everything. There's always going to be improvements and changes. So we want people that are open-minded like that. We like people that take ownership. So it's not, oh, that's not really my job, or I'll leave that to sort of tick along. We want people to take ownership. My parents, my granddad used to say to me, you can have results, you can have excuses, but you can't have both. And that's a big saying that I live by. We all make excuses. Like, I made one this morning that I've not rang somebody that I said I'd ring today, not about work, but about a friend of mine. I said, I'll give you a call later on, mate. I've not had time today. And I spent 10 minutes reading BBC Breakfast News whilst I was having my breakfast. So I could have rang him then, but as an excuse. But we all do it. But you can't have it in business. You've either got to find the ways to make things happen or make an excuse. And the last two are positivity, just because I don't like negative people, and enjoyment. And we want people to really enjoy what they do in their industry that they're in. And not have that Sunday night feeling of like, oh no, I've got work tomorrow, that dreading feeling. So from that point of view, if you're the best version of yourself and you learn, take ownership, you're positive and you enjoy the job, the experience for your customers will be phenomenal. And if your experience for your customers is phenomenal, then they'll transact with you anyway, because they'll want to deal with that sort of person.
Absolutely.
So, and then we recruit based on that. So we explain what those mean, and people that talk to us about how they would see themselves fitting into that. And I'll be honest, what that's done, we haven't recruited some people that you think a typical business would go, well, they're the perfect person. They write all this business. They're super successful. That's great. But if they don't fit into our mold, then we'd rather not work with that person, because okay, we have the short-term extra bit of money coming in, but ultimately it doesn't work for us in terms of culture, in terms of growing the business. So, and because of that, we have a little bit of competition. Of course we do. We've got, we run a competition every year for performance, but it's all about people helping and supporting each other. And it's a soppy thing to say, but it's really nice to see.
Yeah, you have touched, I mean, Gareth, that was like a mini advice there. You cultures and all the values you shared really resonate with me, especially, because we've been working with business owners, and what you said about the customers, happy team members have happy customers. So if the team members are not happy, then the customers will not be happy. And absolutely, learn before you earn. That has to be before you start your earning, because things are changing, and so do we. So we are becoming better and better version of ourselves. For that, we need to learn. So, Gareth, thank you for sharing that. Now, you have such a massive on the cultures, and you're recruiting. You do all the recruitment based on the cultures, because even we feel that the skills are transferable, but the attitude is not. You can train someone, but if someone doesn't fit into your culture, it would always be a misfit. So, having said that, Gareth, when I speak to business owners, there are most of them, they have some challenges, which falls either into getting some time back, probably earning more money or getting the best out of the team. So if I have to ask you, where do you see as the business challenge? Is it the team, time, or money for you?
Um, Team, time, or money? That's a great question. So I'd probably say time. So you know, you could argue all three is obviously their own challenges with what you want to achieve, but for us, that we've got sort of huge aspirations about how we want to grow the business, about what we want to do.
Hmm.
And I'm the most impatient person in the world. Like if I send a text message to that now, I expect a response back in 30 seconds because that's what I'm like. It's probably unreasonable, but I'm like, I want to do everything now and get stuff sorted. I don't like dwelling on things, and so time is probably one of those things because of how my mindset is and how I want to work.
Hmm.
There's only sort of the team of us that will grow the business. There's only me and there's a couple of other people that help with that. There's only us as a team. So
Yeah,
to grow in the way that we want to is there's only so much time in the day. We've all got the same amount of time in the day.
absolutely.
Um, but when you're so busy, you find that something that you wanted to do. I'll go, right, I'll put that on the back of my list because I've got other stuff to do first. And before you know it, 3 months has passed and you think, oh, I've not got that done. And time can go so quickly. So time's a big challenge, which is why you've got to be really sort of, you've got to have a plan and just
Hmm.
roll your sleeves up and start doing it and perfect it
Yeah.
later. Start doing it now and perfect it later.
So now, because you mentioned time, I would want to understand from you, Gareth, you have multiple businesses, not even one. People find it challenging to even grow one. So you have multiple. So how do you balance your personal and professional time, while running the businesses?
Just get up really early. um, so I
How early?
suppose, yeah, that's so the way that I do it, and I'm not going to profess this has not been me for my whole career. Don't get me wrong. I was, as a younger person, when I was a mortgage broker myself, I was the most disorganized, and I'd have files everywhere, and it was in the old days, so you have files everywhere, and I got scrap bits of paper everywhere with bits written on it and things like that, and I could never, I always felt like I was chasing my tail with it. So for me, I just had to learn to be like militantly organized. So I've got any bit of technology that I can use to simplify things or to automate a process. I'll absolutely use it. I've got this is a bit old school for somebody that loves technology. I've got like a proper old school like file, where I keep my like plan my, but I'll plan my day in half an hour sections.
Yeah.
So. And if I'm going to walk the dog, for example, I'll put that in. I'll put that in my diary. The first thing I do is my first half an hour of every day is planning that day and rearranging things if I need to or confirming things. My last half an hour of every evening that I work will be planning for the next day. And
Mm.
planning is the biggest number one thing that I could do that doesn't. I don't get me wrong. I love what I do and I love the work, but if I wasn't organised, I think it'd get on top of me very, very quickly. I don't
Absolutely.
get bogged down. I tell all the team that if you want me, text. I use voice notes on WhatsApp a lot, so we use WhatsApp as a communication tool because everyone's got it. Obviously it's encrypted and that sort of thing, but we use voice notes a lot because I could leave a voice note that would take in 15 seconds that could take me. It'd probably take me 3 or 4 minutes to write on a text message, or it'd take me 10, 50 minutes to write on an email because of how, and emails are so old fashioned. And I only
Yeah.
do my emails twice a day. So I do it the second half an hour of the morning and the last half an hour of every evening. It's the second to last half an hour, because otherwise you can play this game of tennis where I'll send an email, then you send one back, and then I'll send you another one, and then something else, and actually nothing gets done. So just pick the phone up and have the conversation and get it done. So
Mm.
yeah, organization is like the number one thing. I think I know a lot of people are very lucky to have a lot of friends that own businesses, and obviously the people that I have my businesses with as well, and my parents that ran businesses for years. So the one characteristic that they've all got in common, and they're all completely different in terms of. So my stepdad, for example, who I worked for 10 years, I loved it, loved my time there. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wish I could go back to that because it was so fun. But he was like the old school, like 1980s, table bagging manager, that sort of thing. Whereas my business partner in the mortgage business, Sean Newman, who's an incredible business person, he is completely different. So, but that's not to say that it's better or worse. They're just different. The one thing they
Mm.
all have in common is they are all um, militantly organized.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I have also, I've felt this personally. What you're saying, 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the evening. I would say even 10 minutes of planning can save you at least an hour of the work. And I've seen that. I've like literally tried this and tested it, and it really works. And
Yeah,
a
it does.
day, if you start a day without the planning, then you are not, then it's not your day. Then it's people who are deciding your day, then I would say.
Yeah. Oh, that's it. And it's, you know, it's the way that there's a couple of things here. So my diary is my diary, so I control it. I don't let people put things into it, because sometimes people, and well, this is not necessarily a bad thing, but sometimes you can have a meeting for having a meeting's sake. And it doesn't need to be a meeting, and it can, but they put an hour in your diary, so they feel obliged to have a full hour's worth of meeting when it could have been like 25 minutes. And
Yeah.
Zooms and Teams are great for that, because obviously you can set a time, and when you're done, you're done. But there's a massive value to like face-to-face meetings and stuff. Of course there is. But so I love that. But I think you've got to control your time. Your time is the one thing you can't buy more of. So if we want to grow our marketing function, we'll just employ another marketing person. If we wanted to, if we wanted to make the banking and the processing and the financial side, we'll just employ another person into that part of the business. But we can't buy more time, so we have to treat it really preciously. And the one big thing I learned from sort of news from my parents, who are brilliant at this, and from like Sean and Pete, the other guy I have my businesses with, is that we won't just do things to busy our day. So I don't just want to busy myself and go, oh, I've got lots done. It's like, I always think, what am I doing now or next? How is that going to impact business, the people within the business, or the income to the business? It's got to be, it's got to be a useful piece of my time. So to give an example, so as a mortgage broker, obviously you do a mortgage, and then you've got to wait for that to go through with the banks and building societies. And we have a team of incredibly brilliant case managers, like they're phenomenal. But we don't want mortgage brokers. If a mortgage case is worth, let's say, I don't know, make the maths easy, £2,000. If it takes 10 hours to do a £2,000 case, that's £200 an hour if you break that down. So we don't need somebody to be sat on hold to a bank for an hour to get an update on one case that's going to cost us 200 quid to get that update. Whereas if we've got one of our case managers, they can ring and get updates on 10 cases, and it costs £20 for that update. So that's you've got to, it sounds really sort of old school, but you've got to break things down to that detail to realize that you can't just do the things that you want to do, or your things that are easy. You've just got to write your list, start at the top, and work through it.
Yeah, and also to understand what does the business needs. What I mean, what is the business asking you? Because most of the times, what I have seen is that the business owner becomes a business, whereas you need to see what the business needs and then work efficiently and more productively based on that.
Yeah, exactly. I think sometimes it's very easy to be working. Obviously, there's different types of businesses. You might have your smaller sort of lifestyle one-man bands businesses, and they're great. That can give somebody a fantastic income and lifestyle. But if people want to grow and grow their team and to build, you can't do everything yourself.
Exactly.
And you cannot be working in that. So I don't give mortgage advice anymore. I've not given mortgage advice for years and years. My friends always ask me, I go, let me get you in touch with one of the guys. But you need to be able to take that time to work on your business and to plan, and to plan your growth and to what the steps are. You need to do that. You need to be nowhere. When we do that as a group, with like a group of people that we work with to do that, we go off site. So we don't do it in the office, or we don't do it, we go somewhere completely different that we've never been before, because otherwise you can go, I'm just going to quickly send this email. Before you know it, you're back in doing the day job again.
Exactly. Love that. Gareth. That is so good. Working on the business. Yeah, that it's all about working on the business. So, Gareth, we've discussed the journey. You started this journey when you were 16, 18 years old. Yeah. And you've come so far. If you reflect back, and if you had to start your business from the scratch, what would you do differently?
What would I do differently? What would I do? When I was younger, I would listen more to the people that have already done it. Okay, so I would, and this is going to sound like a veiled sales pitch, because bear in mind, I work with who I work with, but I would find people that are already doing what I want to do, and they're already where I want to be, and you'll find that an awful lot of successful people will willingly give up their time to talk about their journey, their business, and help, because really, like, true, like the word entrepreneur is the word, isn't it, that gets bandied around, but those people, most of them love sharing their story and helping. And you can learn. It took me until I was probably in my mid-20s, so 10 years ago, to actually realize that learning it from people that are already doing it is the best way to build your knowledge and to plan your growth. And I was always that pretty precocious sort of, I know what I'm doing, I'll get there one day. And actually, if I just reached out for help and gone, so how did you do it? Because there's that phrase that success leaves clues, which it does. If I want to be successful, find out what somebody else is doing and copy them. Not say copy, but imitate what they're doing, have those behaviors, and do what's working for them will work for you.
I think this reflects back. Say that again.
So the last thing I was going to say as well is, so one of my biggest hobbies outside of work is rugby. Okay, so this is relevant to the question. So I played rugby for years and years, and bizarrely, I played in 11 semi-finals. I've never played in a final of a cup competition. So we always got knocked out in the semi-finals, so pretty unlucky. And we actually got to a final last year for the first time ever, which was great. So in this final, I thought, first one, I'm coming towards the end of my career now as well with rugby. So I thought the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that when the game's finished, as long as I've put absolutely everything into the game, then I won't regret the result, because I know that I've done everything I possibly can to play as well as I can. Well, we lost anyway, Harney. We lost the final, but I was pretty happy because it's probably the best game I played for 5 years. But I thought, well, I've done everything I can, so I'm not going to be left wondering, oh, what if I'd done this, or what if I'd tried that, or what if I'd tried a bit harder. And like looking back now, obviously, we can't all be these sort of militant robots for 100% of our time. But looking back now, I thought, well, if I'd have worked in the way that I work now for the first sort of 6-7 years of my career, where would that have left me now? So if somebody was starting out on their journey, or they're quite early on in it, I'd be saying, don't leave anything to chance. Plan everything, put everything into it, because the time passes so quickly. The time passes. So it seems like yesterday that I'd gone to my qualification that I got for my mortgages, and I was walking into the office as the first day as a mortgage broker. That seems like yesterday ago, and that was what, nearly 18 years ago now. So
wow. I think both the advices you've given, listen, learn more, I think, and the second one, being better, irrespective of the result, being better version of yourself, I think. And I'm so happy that that's reflecting in your business core values as well. So that's a wonderful advice. Gareth, last question to you before we wrap up. What does the future hold? I mean, what's the vision for you and the business?
World domination. No. So what's the future hold? So, I have this thing. So I learned this from a guy called Sean Newman, who I am some of my businesses with. And Sean's like, rather than being a business partner, he's a bit like, he's like a coach in his own right, but he's a bit like, he's influential. He's like, what he stands for, what he believes in is fantastic. And we were discussing this a couple of years ago, and to run a business with, I think the biggest mortgage broker in the UK has probably got, I don't know, maybe 150 mortgage advisors in, something like 100, 150. So we think, well, why not be the biggest in the UK? If we're going to do it, let's become the biggest and the best at it. So for me, the growth will be, on that side, will be growing the business with, taking on more people and supporting more people to help them sort of launch their business. I think we'll also look to the other businesses we have will all grow on the back of that, because we obviously all work with each other. And the big thing personally for me will be I love what I do. Like I genuinely sometimes have to remind myself what day it is, because I love the work. I don't count the days down to the weekend or anything like that. So I love that. But one of my big things I'm starting to get into now is to start helping people that are at the start of their business journey, or that they want to go through a growth, is to sort of help them support those people, because I find it really, really enjoyable. And you do get a lot of nice feelings around the success that people achieve when you've helped them with it. So yeah, that's where I'll be going, I think.
That is so fabulous, and thank you, Gareth. I think you're doing a bit of it by joining us here, and sharing this amazing, brilliant advice with all our listeners. Thank you for joining us today, and we wish you all the success. Yeah, looking forward to 150 mortgages. Yeah, being the biggest mortgage brokerage firm in UK. Yeah.
Fingers crossed. Thank you for having me. It's been really good fun.
Thank you so much.